to the Building Business Podcast, powered by the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce. My name is Mike Compton. I'll be your host today. We're here at the Charleston Media Solutions Studios, recording thanks to Viking Mergers and Acquisitions for underwriting. Today we have a very special guest, a 2-year in the making guest today, Layla Luna. Say hello, Layla.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Layla, what is your nonprofit called, and what is the URL so our listeners can look it up while we talk?
Oh, absolutely. My nonprofit is called Just Bee, like a bumblebee, and it's just B-E-E, thechange.com
Love it.
or .org.
Which is it, .com or .org, or is
They
it
both
both?
link.
Yeah, good work. Somebody knows what they're doing there. So Layla, you aren't originally from Charleston, are you? Like many of us aren't. I know Matt is, but he's one of the few special folk. Matt's an engineer, by the way. But Layla, where are you from, and how did you get to Charleston?
Well, I'm actually born and raised in a town called Calabasas, California. So I'm from LA, and have lived there my whole life. And unfortunately, there was this thing called COVID.
Yeah, that
And
happened.
after being in the entertainment industry for about 23 years, I was a professional dancer, choreographer. So I had an incredible career touring and working with lots of celebrity artists. But COVID came, and I remember owning a dance studio, and they said, just go home on March 14th for a week and a half to flatten the curve, and then you'll be back. And we never went back. I was locked in the house for a year with my kids. And as I started to just hone in on social media and start meeting friends online, I learned of a place called Charleston in a very special movie called The Notebook, and I became obsessed. So after they lifted the restrictions, I came on a vacation, and I came home and sold my house, packed up, and said, I want to live there. I didn't know one person.
Yeah.
I just thought something was calling me here, and I figured I'm going to go for it. I'm going to get off that hamster off the wheel, and I'm going to make a change in my life. And if it works, it's going to be amazing. And if not, that will be the most expensive mistake I ever made in my whole entire life. But luckily, it worked out, and I'm still here. The Notebook, I swear, it's true. The Notebook brought me here.
I heard this from other people before. I didn't think it was true, but now you're telling me, like, no, people literally saw The Notebook. And the canoe, I mean, you love the swamp-looking canoe.
It looks so beautiful. And I thought I've never, when you're from California, when you think the South, I would think of New Mexico, Texas, Arizona.
Sure.
I had no idea about South Carolina. I was like, where's South Carolina? And so I went to go visit, and immediately the people, just the water, the bridge, everything, the flowers. I'm like, how could you ever be in a bad mood when it's so beautiful here? And I just love the people. And then came the food. So yeah.
Right.
The food is too good.
Right. The livability is insane here, and especially you landed in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, for me, I just kind of Googled. I met a woman online who was a real estate agent, and I said, I wanted to move there. Where can I go? My ask was, I don't know if I should say this, but I was like, where are all the Jewish people? So they said, go to Mount Pleasant. There's a Chabad there. So I kind of followed her lead, and I didn't know, but I thought, Mount Pleasant, that just sounds so pleasant of a place to live. How could you go wrong? And I went and landed here, got a house, and brought my children, and I just fell in love with it.
So of all the places, I didn't know that there was a big Jewish population here in Mount Pleasant.
Well, there's a Chabad, and there is Charleston has got some of the oldest ports, and after World War II, this is one of the oldest synagogues in the United States.
Yeah.
So it does have a smaller population, but the ones that are here are very strong and powerful, and also just have great community. But ultimately, you've got these beautiful churches, and I just find my way. I love all people, so I find my way in the churches. I find my way in the synagogues. Anywhere I can go to find community.
You found your way, and this is how we met, through the Mount Pleasant Chamber, didn't
Absolutely.
you? What made you check out the Mount Pleasant Chamber?
When I
Your realtor sent you?
No, when I landed, I was walking around, some of the stores, and I went into a flower store, and I met Muffy Cochran, Michael Cochran's wife.
Okay.
And he had been the president of Mount Pleasant Chamber. And so I didn't know a soul. And, if you've met Muffy, she can chat it up with
I
anyone.
have yet to meet Muffy.
She's
so-
amazing.
Okay.
So she was the first person. She was working in a flower store. And I said, I don't know one person here. She was my first friend. And she said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I really want to start a nonprofit, but I just got here. She said, are you part of the chamber? And I had no idea what that was. So she invited me to the holiday oyster roast.
Sure.
And
Was it cold?
it was freezing, and I was
Jeez.
definitely had never been to an oyster roast. I
Oh, your
had
first one
my
even.
first one. It was their holiday Christmas one.
Mm-hmm.
It was at Omar Shrine. Was it this?
We can have it on our Shine, or we also have it at the other, I can't remember the name
It
of
was
it, but
back
yeah.
then. It was there.
Yeah.
And I remember showing up. Oh my goodness. Having my LA moment. I was like in heels, black dress, black jacket, red lips, full makeup. Like, okay, it's holiday. I'm
yeah.
ready. And everyone's eating, oysters and
Shucking
kickback
oysters.
and, boots and,
Not-
Columbia jacket, just relax. And I'm like, okay,
Yep.
I definitely stand out.
Welcome to Charleston.
Welcome to Charleston, Layla. Welcome. You can get rid of all that black clothing, and the high heels can be set aside to something more comfortable, and get ready for those oysters.
Yeah. Do you like oysters?
Oh, I love them.
Oh, okay.
I had never had an oyster ever in my
Oh,
life.
wow. So the chamber introduced you to oysters. I love that. That's a cool story. I wasn't aware of.
Chewy, and it had great people, so
Mhm.
I immediately joined.
Well, it was the people in my first experience too that I found that was almost addicting. Like the people that are leading it lead with love, I feel like.
100%.
Yeah. I remember being it was the holiday. It wasn't the oyster roast, but it was like 2019. It was the holiday board meeting that we have. It's the shortest board meeting anyways. We had a luncheon, and everybody, got up and got their award, and, we did prayer. We said the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm like, I just had goosebumps. I'm like, this is home. These people are home. So that's why I fell in love with, the same reason I fell in love
Same.
with the
I
chamber.
just remember they're going to the first luncheon,
Mhm.
and they were doing the Pledge of Allegiance
Yeah.
and saying a prayer before we ate. And I thought, I never had this growing up. I pretty much lived in a car. I didn't even know who my neighbors were. I mean, this is LA. It's a very lonely city. And, you're in the rat race just to make money and who knows who. Very narcissistic, lonely lifestyle. And then I came to one of the luncheons, and I thought, I don't know much about this community. I don't know much about this world, but I know that this is where I want to be, and this is the right place for my kids.
And so this kind of transitions into your kids. So talk about your kids real quick.
Well, I have 3 children. Not very successful at marriage, but I have 3 children, and
Nobody knows about that, Layla.
shocking. Well, my first son, my firstborn is Rio, and a lot of individuals know about Rio because I've been very vocal. He is the reason why I started Just Be. He is almost 18 years old, nonverbal autistic, and I really wanted to make sure that I was his voice.
Yeah.
It's really important for me to be his voice. And also that my daughters, Leia, she's almost 13, and her sister Odea, who's almost 11. And they are kind of Rio's spokesperson. Leia always likes to be like, hey, Rio wants hot dogs for dinner. I'm like, Rio doesn't talk, but okay.
That's what
She's
she
like his
wants.
agent.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, he told me. But
Right.
yeah, my kids
Cute.
are very important, like all parents feel. with their
Of course,
children.
right? So important that you started this nonprofit. We'll get to Just Be in a minute, but I wanted to have you share, because I was blessed to hear the story from you too, and I want to share with our audiences the idea where it started from. You were in LA at a restaurant,
Yeah.
right? Can you tell that story to our audience? This is the birth of Just Be.
Yeah, I mean, when Rio was diagnosed in 2010, I was a single
And
mom.
how old was he?
He was about almost 3,
Oh,
two and a
boy.
half, 3.
Okay.
And I didn't know anyone. Nobody had an autistic kid. I was the only single mom with an autistic child. And then on top of it, nonverbal. Like everywhere we went, people stared at us. We get kicked out of playgrounds. Rio was different, and it was really hard to navigate. And all I knew was Rain Man. I mean, there was nothing out there. There
When
was
you
no
say different, though, Layla, he doesn't look different. He looks like a normal kid.
Yeah,
So when people are staring at you, they're not staring at you because of the way he looks or the way you guys look. It's more of what now? It's more of,
Yeah, with autism, there's no facial recognition. It's not like Down syndrome or a visible disability. Rio's like skinny jeans, checker Vans. He looks like a skateboarder. He's so cute. But he doesn't have the motor skills and he's unable to speak. So like when he was little, he wouldn't play with any of the kids. He'd be off in his own little world, or we'd have those moments where he had a new stem where he would like lick the slides, and I'd be like, let's not do that. Oh, hopefully that stem will stop. Or there was a time where he had this dinosaur sounds that he would start screaming, and I'm like, oh my goodness, why me? But the stems change. But for Rio, it was this night I just took him and his sister to a local pizza restaurant where I was from, not here. And it took forever to get seated, get the pizza, and get the check. And Rio had a complete sensory overload meltdown. So he started screaming and crying and banging his head. And then next thing I know, all the customers started yelling at me to control my kid. What kind of mother am I that he was a spoiled brat? And the restaurant kicked us out.
come on.
And that was the moment. That was like in that Mayday situation of having to call my dad to come pick us up. And I had a little swaddle bumblebee blanket, and I kept saying, why can't people just be nice? Why can't they just be kind? Why can't they understand he's autistic? It was my father that said, bumblebees have mystified scientists for hundreds of years, that aerodynamically a bumblebee should not be able to fly because he's a pilot and he was a captain in the army. And he said that they've mystified scientists because their body's too long and fat and their wingspan's short, and yet they do the impossible, they lift. And I was like, yeah, just like people with autism, they can do the impossible. I went home.
All in this car ride?
This was a big episode out in the parking lot with Rio attacking me and me crying and some bad language, and you know how it goes. But when I woke up the next day, I just thought like, well, simply, I was in the entertainment industry. This was not my call to action, nothing. I was like, well, what if that restaurant had known he was autistic? Or what if they were trained in autism? Or what if they had seated us right away?
Right.
Would that night have been so horrible? And that was the call to action to become a 501c3 and start Just Be as a nonprofit. So that was the moment I found my voice, I guess.
Yeah. In that original plan, because we're later in this episode, we're going to get to where you are now, which is crazy talk. But the original plan was what? You were just looking for something that you could pre-educate people on the spectrum.
Yeah, I wanted to train businesses and teach them how to have sensory hours and not have to be, stared at. Or, I mean, Rio and I have been filmed, we've been pointed at, we've been kicked out of places. I mean, there's so much discrimination. People are so cruel when you have a child, especially when they're big. I mean, my favorite is like going to the mall and bringing an 18-year-old who's 6 foot into the women's bathroom because he's still in diapers, welcome to the spectrum. And the dirty looks I get, the way that people respond to you. So that was like I wanted to lean into that, like, oh, well, okay, fine. No one's really going to pay attention to me. Maybe some people will care about that I have an autistic son, but what will they really lean into? And that's money. So if a business has down hours, I mean, their lights are on, they're paying their employees to sit there. What if those became happy hours? Like 2 to 4 is the new 5 o'clock.
Okay.
What if I could go to a place and have the same quality of life as everybody else? Like get to go to the movies, get to go to restaurants, go to the, shopping or the dentist or a church or pray. What if we could do that? But maybe just do it at different times.
Yeah.
So I don't have to be at a restaurant at 6 p.m. where everyone's like, oh, what's with that mom? Like,
well, no, it's
discipline
peak
here.
times where there's lots of. So what's the triggering? What's the triggering?
Triggering is the lights, the TVs, the noise, the smells, anything. Could be anything that could trigger. And most of the time, it's just the fact that people are staring at Rio
Okay.
and watching him and pointing him. He feels like,
He feels it.
yeah, of course. He understands everything, but he's locked in a silent prison, but he understands. He knows the world knows he's different. And every day he has to suit up and watch people stare at him, make fun of him, or they just don't know what to do.
Right.
So I was like, what if we did education awareness? What if there is a place for us, where it's not about the disabilities, it's about the possibilities? And then we could make revenue for businesses on slower hours of operation. Then I leveled up and was like, well, what if I had an app and we could just find those places like a Yelp of autism? And this is where I started to go down the rabbit hole.
Go ahead.
And I found Dr. Diane Cullinane, who is a medical expert. She's like, I'll write the training. So it started to come together. And the first thought was education awareness, getting our families out in public, getting rid of the stigma, and also having the same quality of life as everybody else. And also to not forget about, there's a term, it's a new term, it's called glass children.
Mm.
Those are the brothers and sisters of the child,
Okay.
or of the family, that most of the focus is on the child with the disabilities. They often feel invisible.
Glass.
Leia and Odea, it's always about Rio. The whole day is revolving around how is Rio's mood. So those are the things that is important for the whole family unit to be able to be part and have memories.
Yeah.
Where families like myself, I mean, how do you sustain a whole generation of young adults in the room on an iPad for the rest of their life? You can't.
It's hurting us right now for sure.
Yeah, and it hurts because like Rio's never had a friend. I mean, imagine being 18 and never having a friend, never being on a baseball team or a prom date or finding love or anything like that. They're just lonely and the families feel it. So that's the voice of Just Be, is to make sure that we have the same quality of life as everybody else.
You think it's as simple as adjusting your time schedule, which is a big deal. I can't imagine adjusting my time schedule, right? And families, but you guys, families that have these situations need to adjust their time, and it's kind of a simple thing to do, right?
Yeah, you don't need to change the child or the adult to fit the environment. Just change the environment to fit the child or the adult. It's an easy fix. If we're going to look at corporate social responsibility, there you are, businesses. If you're going to look at social impact, where do you want to put your money?
Yeah.
If you can put your money in businesses like Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, pet-friendly, even vegans, then what about the largest untapped market in history, the autistic and neurodivergent community? What about them? Why can't we just change the model and have community helping community? So for me, it was like a real easy fix. It just made sense. It was like, I hate to say putting those puzzle pieces together, but I figured out that if we could change the dynamic of businesses to have slower hours of operation that are sensory friendly and welcoming, and if the bumblebee sticker's in the window, then hey, power of the pocketbook. If pizza's pizza, then I'm going to give and support a business that supports a mission that I believe in, and even
Yes.
hire adults. So
Yes.
that's where I started.
Yes.
And then also, like we were talking about earlier,
Wow.
I started with just running around. I don't know if anyone remembers, but about maybe 3.5 years ago or 4 years ago, rifle range, I lit all the fountains blue. We
Yeah.
turned all the fountains blue for Autism Awareness Month, and I put little signs out around rifle range and around the fountains, just like, oh, April's Autism Awareness Month, and
Did you guys know that? Did you know that April was Autistic Awareness Month?
yeah.
Yeah. Now
April
we know.
2nd is World Autism Awareness Day, but the whole month of April is Autism Awareness Month. We light up blue. A little disconnect on that one because they thought only boys were autistic, but we know girls are autistic. So, but April is Autism Awareness Month.
Everybody in rifle range knew that.
They didn't know, but I was going to make sure.
You were going to make sure that they're aware.
Squeaky wheel, this little mom on a mission out there with her kids planting all these signs, and the fountains were blue for the whole month. They left it for the whole month. It was pretty incredible.
So when did the mayor of Mount Pleasant step in? And would he be the next step? What's the next step after the flags?
Yeah, the next step was
the Mount Pleasant Chamber. You were.
I did the chamber, but I didn't know anyone. And then I just had this idea that I wanted to, start Just Be in South Carolina. But I met Mayor Haney at the farmer's market and just walked up to him on a handshake and said, hi, my name's Layla, and I have a nonprofit called Just Be, and I want to make Mount Pleasant the first certified autism-friendly town in the Lowcountry.
And he said no and walked away.
No, he said, actually, I believe his daughter's an occupational therapist, or she works in this field. And he was like, absolutely. So that's how it started, with a proclamation. Then I pitched for the whole town council about certifying Mount Pleasant. And then we went on to the All-American City Awards.
Hold on, the proclamation. That's a big step, the proclamation. What did that entail?
It was in town hall, and I put together a speech and a little mini PowerPoint, and just speaking to town council and letting them know that autism is the fastest growing developmental diagnosis. Now, currently, I can't remember the numbers, but it was much higher. But now it's 1 in every 31 children, 1 in every 45 adults, so that if not now, when? When does our community get to be heard? And Mayor Haney was so strong. He really believed in this. He's just thought, and also, Eric Demora, it's just everyone really loved
Mhm.
this mission because they felt like this is part of our legacy. We need to support our community. We need every single person is the fabric of our community. And if we're leaving them out, then we can't coexist to
Right.
have this Mount Pleasant world of businesses and families that feel disconnected. So Mayor Haney always said, "This is the voice of the voiceless."
Yes. God, he's great, isn't he?
He
Much
was
love.
Without him, I probably would not be sitting here. So I'm
Okay,
very grateful.
so what did he then do? The proclamation, what did that say? What was the proclamation?
That April was Autism Awareness Month, and then we went for a second proclamation, making and certifying by training the first responders, town council, um, to be autism friendly. We took them through their training. They got their certificate. We have an agreement every year,
Mhm.
and they leaned in. I worked really hard on this giant proposal.
Yeah.
I never did all these numbers and statement of work. And when we had the meeting with Eric and the town administrator, and he just immediately was flashing through all the papers, and immediately the first page is like, "I want that," and it was the Beehive,
Okay.
our sensory mobile trailer. We're like, "Well, don't you wanna look at all the numbers that I worked so hard on this proposal?"
Right.
He's like, "That's what I want." He knew immediately, which is the Beehive is
Yeah.
an 8.5 by 24-foot sensory mobile trailer, and Mount Pleasant bought it for us so that we could support these families and be part of the community and be part of the events, and it was one of the biggest wins because it's just like a giant sensory room, but what it stated for families like myself is that now we get to go to Blessing of the Fleet. Now
Yeah.
we get to have events like Lights and Love that,
Yeah.
or town center that Kathy Herman started with myself. And
Uh-huh.
we get to see these families. We exist.
Yeah.
We are here. This is something that is not going away. We need to celebrate our families, but having the sensory mobile trailer there, the Beehive, lets our families know that they can come. And if they're feeling overstimulated, they can reset, go back into the Beehive, reset, get calm, and then go back out so that we don't have to feel like, oh, we can't come. We're going to have a meltdown. Everyone's going to stare at us.
Yeah.
Or we finally get there, we pay all our money, and then we have to be like, we got to go.
That's too much.
Because,
Yeah.
and then you have like the brothers and sisters like, oh, we have to leave. And it's,
Glass
the glass
siblings,
children
glass
just
children.
spinning. And it becomes that embarrassing moment. So most families just, they don't go anywhere.
Right.
They don't have these family memories. And we want everyone to know that it's okay. We see you, special people get special children, and that you're not alone.
Mm.
I always lean into like, I am you. I understand. I've seen it all. And the Beehive, one of the most beautiful moments about the Beehive, which
Mhm.
will be at Strawberry Festival
I was just gonna
and
say,
Blessing of the
now you can
Fleet.
do these things. You can go to the Strawberry Festival because all the kids want to go to these festivals,
Yeah.
and now you can because of
Great partnerships, Boone Hall, Mount Pleasant, we're certifying North Charleston now too. So these are the partnerships that we go and we support these communities, whether it's National Night Out, we're there.
Mhm.
And now these families are coming. And the win is that when we are in the Beehive, typical children and adults are meeting families that are on the spectrum,
Mm.
and that is the true inclusion.
Yes.
They're seeing us. The stigma needs to go away. We cannot hide our children. We shouldn't have to hide our adults. They have the same quality of life as everybody else. So
Mhm.
just be behind the scenes is a civil rights and a human rights movement. I
Mhm.
believe every great community has their moment in history, and this is the autistic and neurodivergent moment that we'll read back in our history books.
It's amazing, and you're leading it. It's just based out of Mount Pleasant. So you got the proclamations, and then what came next?
Oh, we did, All American City Awards, and
Talk
we
about that.
won. Oh,
What does
that
that
was a
mean?
huge win. That was incredible.
What year was this?
Was that 2024?
I think so.
Yeah, 2024, and it was such a win because we went there and
Where's there? What does it mean?
we went to Denver, and, we got to compete.
Who judges these All-American Cities things? Do you know?
They've been around for like 50 years,
I
and
bet.
cities from all over the United States come. I think about 10 cities win. We won. Mount Pleasant's won before, but this
Yeah.
time we won on, weaving the fabric of our community. And a big part of the win, as the judges said, is because we dedicated a whole town to the autistic and neurodivergent community by certifying. That was big part of the win, plus everybody else that was involved
Sure.
from all the great things like
Basket weaving
Wake Up
and
Carolina,
Wake Up Carolina.
yeah,
Sure.
that was
Yeah.
part of the win
hmm
too. But having representation with Trista and some of the other individuals that are on the spectrum were
hmm
part of the skit and our presentation.
Oh,
And
Trista. Yeah.
Trista was amazing.
She's an amazing influencer, isn't she? Trista the barista,
Yeah,
right? Like,
she's a huge.
I follow her. I'm a fan.
Yeah, she represents the Down community.
Yeah.
And then we also had Frankie.
Yes. Yeah.
He was there.
Debbie's son.
Debbie's son.
Debbie and Nelly's son.
Yeah, they started. I was the first one to speak once we did our presentation, and it started off with Mayor Haney, and then Michael Cochran announced Just Be, and I got to talk about how we made Mount Pleasant certified as the first autism-friendly town in the Lowcountry, and that was, what an honor, what a
cool.
big deal. Like, never underestimate a mom, guys. Like
Right.
a mama bear can get stuff done.
That's no kidding. Well, your journey doesn't end there, though, does it? Like I said, team, this has been 2 years in the making to have this interview, and I'm glad we're doing it now because she's done so much in the 2 years. It's crazy through
I've
3
done a
years.
lot.
Yeah. So now after the All American City Award for Mount Pleasant, that's a big feather in the cap there for everybody. Like everybody's just hugging about that, right? Everybody's just in love with that.
City or
Who doesn't want an inclusive city? Who doesn't want to have families feel seen and heard and loved? What happened after that?
I recalled a situation where I was pulled over by a routine traffic stop. It wasn't here.
You were speeding.
I know,
What were you doing wrong?
oh my gosh,
You couldn't do anything wrong, I'm
it's
sure.
so dumb. It's the dumbest thing. And I'm going to tell you because now I'm on the spot. But in LA, I can't believe I'm saying this. There's like this trend not to change out your license plate, to keep like the new car license plate on. So with a new dealership, so you don't ever put on your plate, it looks like your car's brand new. I know.
What?
Everybody does it. So I got pulled over and they're like, your car's like a year old, but you
Yeah.
have the brand new, like at the time I had a Lexus, like the Lexus
Sure.
dealership plate. And so it was a fix-it ticket, but that's what I did. Sorry, listeners. It wasn't anything more exciting than that. It's just so stupid. Now that I look back at it, I'm like, why
Yeah,
would
but
I
it
do
happened
that?
for a reason, though, right?
I know.
So
It was just
what was the lesson that came out of that?
lesson is that is not cool to do, and to change your plate as soon as you get it.
Right.
But so I got pulled over, and the officer didn't understand autism. So they had the sirens and the flashing lights, and Rio was in the front seat, and he went ballistic. He started to get so frightened and went into such a severe fight or flight sensory overload that he started attacking me. He bit the whole dashboard.
How old was
And oh
What's the
gosh, I
point?
was almost 13.
Oh shit. Okay.
And he bit me. I just let him bite. There's the
You
permanent
still have the
scar.
scar.
The permanent scar. I
I'm
just let him
sure.
like jaws just hold on to my wrist because
God.
he was gonna run out into one of the busiest streets. And who knows what would have happened. I mean, I could have lost Rio right then and there because of those flashing lights. He had the sirens off, but the flashing lights. And so I remember just speaking. I met with it was council member Carl Ritchie at the time.
Sure.
And before he became sheriff, and I said, like, why isn't there an identifier license plate? I don't understand. This is what happened with Rio and I. Why don't first responders know or be alerted that someone in the vehicle is on the spectrum? He thought this was a no-brainer. So he connected me with House Representative Kathy Landing. We met at
Sure.
Town Hall, and that meeting turned into Rio's Law. And the one thing I've told Kathy this, but I just want to share it, like, it's hard. I don't want to be emotional, but it's
Please do.
hard.
It's fine.
When
I'll
you
cry with
have
you.
autism, you're going to go through like many years of like, why me?
Mhm.
Why me? Why did this have to happen to me? Why not her? Why? What did I do wrong?
Right.
And it takes a long time. So anyone who's listening, I understand. I've been there. And I remember getting into the elevator with Sharon, who works with me, after Kathy was like, I'm going to run with this. I am going to do this. This law makes so much sense. And I was like, okay. So we walked out of the room, and I remember getting in the elevator, and it's so strange. I remember looking up like to God and being like, I don't really remember saying this, but she remembers me saying it. And I said, now I know why me.
Come on.
Swear to God. Now I know where I mean. That was the moment where it all made sense.
Yeah.
I was here to do something for Rio and for all the Rios. And it's Rio's law.
So what is Rio's law?
Rio's law is South Carolina is the first state in the nation. Representative Lanning passed it unanimously and bipartisanly within 6 months with like 7,000 bills to be heard. It is the first ever identifier license plate with the Just Be logo on it. It says autistic/neurodivergent. And you have to have the diagnosis in order to get the plate. It
Sure.
is not a charity plate. I don't make $1 off this. It's a law. And it's not just for the individual because Rio will never drive. There are a lot of the times they'll do stuff for like your driver's license, but it's like Rio's never going to drive. I have profound autism, level 3. We're not on TV. We're not in the movies. A lot of people don't talk about profound autism, which is a huge component of families like myself. But this way, the parent can get the plate, the caregiver can get the plate, the brother and sister, or the individual can get the plate. Sorry, my nose is running.
That's okay.
It's a little cold in here. So, but you can get the plate, and that way, if you're ever pulled over or on the side of the road, immediately law enforcement knows that someone in the vehicle is on the spectrum, to turn off sirens and turn off lights and to approach calmly. They know what they're walking into because time saves lives. And a fight or flight situation can go within seconds. Like, you got to understand, an officer or a first responder, I mean, how are they going to know?
Yeah,
They're not going to have time. Our officer said that they don't look at stickers on cars because stickers can, the car could have been sold. So they're not going to look at stickers. There's a program like, where you hand an envelope. They're like, with fentanyl, we're not touching anything.
Right.
We're not leaning into the car. We're not touching anything. You're not going to have time to read a diagnosis or anything like that. I mean, it's going to move so fast. And someone like Rio, who's a superhuman strong, aggressive, he's 6 foot. His pupils are dilated because he's on meds. A lot of our kids are on meds. So immediately law enforcement's going to think drug-induced delirium. If he runs, they might think criminal. Rio's going to reach for that shiny badge, or a lot of the officers have their cell phone on their belt next to their gun. Rio might reach for that. I mean, what do you do? And if you're the officer that makes that wrong call, which we've seen on the news way too many times, just happened last week again in Maryland, you lose your job. You have to live with the fact that you hurt someone with autism, and then imagine the massive lawsuits. So Rio's law is the big win. It's an identifier plate. It's voluntary. If you don't want it, you don't have to get it. But we know time saves lives. And our first responders, especially law enforcement, love it because they don't have a crystal ball. This thing can move very fast and without knowing, because again, remember, there's no look to autism. There's no facial recognition. So how do they know? And that's why we started Rio's law.
Talk about how cool it was in your experience of getting that passed. And when was it passed?
It was passed in 2025. It was passed last year.
Recently.
Well, 24-25 was in May. Governor McMaster signed it into law. And right now we're doing the second part of it, which is mandatory first responder training for autism and neurodiversity in the state of South Carolina. That will pass. And also Representative Lanning is doing, with a diagnosis, you can get the handicap placard with the autism diagnosis, which is important because for our families to drag our kids across the parking lot, getting them, dysregulated, it is so difficult. And then I'm like, well, you're a veteran, you get to park up front. You're pregnant, you get to park up front. But I got to drag Rio across the parking lot. So just common sense. Everything I do, I feel like it's just common sense.
Sure.
For a community that's often overlooked. And when you have a visible disability, oftentimes people think if they don't see it, it's not there. But many of us struggle, and especially with neurodiversity, which is going to become the new umbrella. That's autism, ADHD, dyslexia, apraxia, schizophrenia, Down syndrome, PTSD.
Wow.
There's a lot underneath a neurological brain difference, but you may not see it. Visually, like you may not see it, but that doesn't mean it's not there. And a lot of times we'll label that as mental health, but mental health could be undiagnosed autism too. So getting in the conversation, making sure that families know. A lot of the time also with girls for autism, I just want to point this out. Girls are autistic. They do something different. It's called masking. Usually they'll copy and paste the emotions. A lot of girls don't get diagnosed till much later in life, maybe late teens, early 20s, because they play a part. they're taught to be pleasing or to be pretty, or like, wait, you're not autistic, you're not flapping, or you're not Rain Man, or you're not like Rio. You're a cheerleader, you're popular, you can't be autistic. But they struggle because oftentimes they are also very vulnerable to bad actors because they can't gauge a predator because they're pleasing. So there are other sides to autism that is unpleasant, but we just want more education awareness on it. Yeah.
It's crazy how deep it goes and on
It's an
the
onion.
layers, right? It's an onion. The layers that goes is
Especially when
insane.
we train first responders, we talk about some of the things that they might encounter.
So you're training. So you're building a team of trainers to help you push these laws and train the people, train the first responders. So you started, let's just say you started at Rifle Range, you got the Mount Pleasant. So now you're South Carolina. Now you're statewide, and then now what's after this, Layla?
Nationwide,
What?
Rio's Law. So we just passed our second state, Georgia. It was 169 yays to 0 nays. It was incredible and
Yeah.
a very divisive state. Sometimes it doesn't get along. Unanimous, bipartisan, and what a win. I mean, I have never felt something so electric to see that, the board of all the yeses and the nays. It was truly something I am so proud.
Yeah.
And I'm just ready to make Rio's Law the next handicap symbol.
Okay.
That's the goal. That's the dream. Love any support, any sponsors to bring Just Be go nationwide. We have some legislation now in North Carolina. We're starting legislation in Texas, Mississippi, Tennessee, and we have also early stages of Florida and California. So eventually, the win will be having Rio's Law, the license plate, nationwide, like the handicap symbol, plus mandatory first responder training. We need it mandatory or else the rural areas won't get trained.
Yeah.
And again, time saves lives. It's just a matter of time before a child elopes or a family has a sensory overload.
Yeah.
This is the new normal. And we want to make sure that we're protecting our first responders, protecting our neighbors, but also the individual that lives with the diagnosis.
Yeah.
They deserve to be heard and respected.
And I feel like now is a great moment too for that population. There's a lot of what's the TV show that's out there?
Oh, a Love on the
Oh
Spectrum?
my gosh, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
We are really fortunate to have the star of Love on the Spectrum, one of the stars, Connor Tomlinson. He is a Georgian, so he's the hometown hero, and he is using his platform to be Rio's voice.
Yeah.
He is our spokesperson for Rio's Law as we go state by state, and it's just been an honor to be able to work with him and his mom, Lise. Love on the Spectrum is an incredible show. It shows what our adults feel like, that they long for the same thing as everybody else. And the biggest one there is a lot of the time they thought individuals with autism were like Rain Man. This is post Rain Man generation.
Yeah.
Connor's 27 years old, and this is a TikTok generation, and they're talking about their feelings. They know what they want. They want friends. They want jobs. They want love. They're fun. They want the same as we do. And a lot of the time back in the day, they thought that individuals with autism didn't want connection, that they didn't need it, that they were just in their own world. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And shows like Love on the Spectrum really show us that our adult population is just like us, just thinking a little bit differently.
So you're a fan of that show?
Oh my gosh, I love Love on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And thankful to Connor.
And you've got Connor. Yeah. Do you know what his diagnosis is?
He's autistic.
Yeah.
He identifies as being neurodivergent. That's kind of the newer way of individuals with autism tend to now become like under that umbrella is just being neurodivergent, but he is autistic. That's the diagnosis. And he explains that he's had encounters with law enforcement. He was bullied in school. So I love how his mom always says, there's a Connor right next to you. There's a Connor sitting right next to you. There's a Connor at your school. There's a Connor at your job. I mean, she likes to say over and over again that she won the golden ticket, which she did with Connor because he's higher functioning and he's just an incredible person. But using his platform to be the vehicle for people like Rio who are profound is really special.
You showed me some video, and I'll post this on social, listeners. But some Connor and Rio videos where Rio's sitting right next to Connor, and Connor's talking about what they're just got done doing, which is amazing, right?
Yeah, that he's
And
his friend.
Rio's just beaming the entire time, isn't he?
He's beaming because he has a friend, and Connor always is like, "Hi, Rio, it's your friend Connor." 18, living in a world of silence.
I'm not crying. You're crying, listeners.
It's hard. It's a hard life. It is really lonely, and our adults really struggle, whether it's from isolation or loneliness or suicide or just feeling that they're not made to be in this world, that they, like Rio has written, that he feels like he's locked in a silent prison.
He's written this.
He's written it. He can type, so he can talk about things when he wants to. It's not often. He said that being autistic does not mean that you're dumb. He's asked God to help him, but he said you can't live your life in sorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, and he's been very profound in his writing about what it feels like. You can read a lot of books written by individuals that are nonverbal. It's pretty profound,
okay.
what they feel. But he understands everything. He understands 3 languages. Sometimes people think because he's nonverbal, they'll start talking louder to him, and he's like,
Right.
"I'm not deaf."
Right.
He'll try to make them disappear. That's his thing. He closes his eyes and tries to make you disappear when you're annoying. So he's got a lot of sense of humor, but yeah, he's a person. He's a wonderful person, but he's Rio. He's not autistic Rio. He's just Rio.
Just Rio, exactly.
Just Rio. And for any listener that has a loved one that's on the spectrum, celebrate them. They are who they are. God made them exactly where they were supposed to be and who they're supposed to be. They're not missing a puzzle piece. They're not missing anything. They are perfect in the way that they are designed.
Well said. And there's businesses locally that have employed.
Absolutely, like Heirloom and lots of businesses.
What's the pizza joint called again?
Oh, Migalori's.
I can never say that.
I say their name wrong.
I say their name wrong too.
I just say Megs. I don't want to butcher it.
Super good pizza. Have you been, Matt? It's really good pizzas.
Oh,
Yeah.
they have, and I think the sister
Yeah.
Jill and
Right.
Trista works there.
Okay, yeah.
There's a whole world. I mean, if you look at Silicon Valley or any of these big tech companies, they're hiring neurodivergent individuals because they have a specialty to hyper focus. They understand details, sounds, systems. They can hyper focus on numbers. There's a lot to be, said for this community. They're highly intelligent, or some of the best professional athletes in the world are on the spectrum. So this is not a bad lane to be in. It's not too shabby. I mean, like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Einstein, Mozart,
Right.
Messi, Simone Biles, Michael Phelps, Eminem. There's a ton of us that are on the spectrum, and I think at some point, I think we're all kind of a little bit wired differently.
100%.
I mean, after the Beehive, we had 10,000 people in the Beehive, and I just think everyone's a little bit on the spectrum.
You had 10,000 people in the Beehive. What does that mean?
They just threw all the festivals, people coming in and out. We counted to see how many people were coming in and out. We had about 10,000 last year.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah, and the only bad thing with the Beehive is that there's just not enough tissues, because usually the parents will cry
Yeah.
because there's nothing for them.
Right.
And there we are, standing that fight. This is my battle cry as a mom, that mom on the mission to be Rio's voice and the voice of millions of others just like him. When we pull up at the Beehive, we're like, we see you, we hear you, we are you, and be part of this. It's such a win, Mount Pleasant. And people are moving here. People Google, like, where can I live on the East Coast that's autism friendly? I've met families that moved to Mount Pleasant and IOP because they Googled that certification.
Really?
Yeah, they live here now.
Stop it.
Yeah, I know them. And I think this state, by being the leaders of inclusion and acceptance, and you've got to understand that autism doesn't care about your skin color. It doesn't care about your religion, your sexual orientation, your political party, or your financial background. It takes all of us. It doesn't discriminate. So we're all in the same boat. And for Mount Pleasant to stand up, Mayor Haney, Town Council, Sheriff Ritchie, Representative Lanning, the chamber, and to support someone who didn't even know one person that landed here but had a dream. I mean, I hate to be cheesy, but I have a dream too as a mother.
Yeah.
moms have dreams, fathers have dreams, our families have dreams for their kids.
Mhm.
And we shouldn't have to give up because we got a diagnosis. And that's the win, is the support of this town is going to make me go all the way. So we've got 48 states to go.
Right.
We're looking for sponsors and help. And if anyone knows anyone in any state, representatives, senators, congressmen, anywhere in any other state that you think Rio's Law should be there and mandatory first responder training, let me know, because I'm in the fight and I'm not going to stop until we go nationwide. So we always say hashtag go be go. It's like the little bee that could.
Yeah. Love that.
Go be go.
How else can the chamber and our listeners support Just Be?
Oh, with businesses, more events, everything that you do, make sure that there's an area dedicated to the autistic and neurodivergent community in this day and age. If you're a town or an event or a business, if you don't have something dedicated to this community, you're really out of touch.
When you're losing money.
You're losing money too. Yes, we have our app. You can be on our app. We'd love to train you. We'd love to certify. We got North Charleston now. We'd love to get all the other cities to certify and be part of this movement. Just Be is a grassroots movement. It's like sometimes I feel like the Avon of autism, or the Mary Kate,
Yeah.
just door to door. But there's something to be said for boots on the ground and a grassroots movement. And it started here in South Carolina.
Started here in Mount Pleasant.
And Mount Pleasant, yeah. Mount Pleasant, it really started here in Mount Pleasant. You can imagine. It's pretty incredible, and I know that the families are behind it, and, hopefully when you see the logo, it's a bumblebee, but one's a little bit different with the yellow and black stripes, but they're all connected. We're all one. So I say just be kind, just be human, and let them just be.
I have nothing else to follow this up. That was a perfect ending.
Yeah,
Layla.
thank you.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what we're doing. I mean, every presentation I do, if you have a business you want to be trained or certified, or if you want to know more about Just Be, or if you're a mom and you want to get involved, or a dad or a family, or donate, we are a nonprofit. We love donations, sponsors.
Yes.
Please don't hesitate. April's Autism Awareness Month. We could use the help. But most importantly, that it's going to come down to together.
Mm-hmm.
So we say together we can just be the change. And that's what we're doing here in Mount Pleasant.
Great work, Layla.
Thank you.
A little bit of tears, a little bit of sniffles. We got through all the emotions.
Little runniness, little sniffles.
I feel like we got
emotional.
Through it. No, but it's an important message, and I'm glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, I want to be transparent. I want to be honest about. That was the thing when I first started in Mount Pleasant, is getting on the news, and I was like the only one talking about autism. I remember some people had never even heard of neurodiversity. They're like, "What's that?" So I knew I had my work cut out for me, but I wanted to be honest, especially with our first responder training. A lot of our families, like, we don't want to call the police. We don't want the neighbors to know. How do you explain what happens behind closed doors when most families don't understand it? There's a lot of stigma behind autism, even some of the stuff that's unpleasant. Like, if you're a neighborhood and everything goes great and your life is super blessed, and then you have a neighbor like me with Rio, how do I explain that my refrigerator's chained up, or there's holes in the walls, or locks on the outside of the door, windows nailed shut? It's not normal for a lot of people. So I just want our families to know that, we're here, we get it. And the best way for us to work as a community is to be transparent and to help each other. If you know anyone, it's April Autism Awareness Month. If you know anyone with autism, or they're at your school or at a job or a family that needs help, go up to them. Change the dialogue. Don't just stare at us and film at us or point at us or roll your eyes thinking I'm a bad mom. Maybe next time you see me struggling, change that narrative and think, well, I wonder if that child's on the spectrum, or that adult, does that parent need help? That's the win. Let's change the narrative as a community.
You're doing it, Layla.
Thank you.
You're doing it.
I need help. So anyone who wants to join, let me know. Be part of the B team.
Let's go.
Let's go. Go be go.
Oh, I'm in.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, what a great episode. Thank you, Layla.
Thank you.
Can't be any more authentic than Layla Luna. That's 100% for real right there. And you're making stuff happen. No, the whole deal, dude. It's great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So much for this opportunity.
Yeah, of course.
so exciting.
I know, right? So I'd like to also wrap this up. So thank you, Layla. Thank you to the Mount Pleasant Chamber and to Viking Mergers and Acquisitions for their underwriting. And thank you to the Charleston Media Solutions for this beautiful studio that we are in. It's called Heaven,
I feel like I'm in
So,
heaven.
there we go. Just adding more emotions to it.
Mhm.
And thank you, listeners.